Hey, and welcome to the Godfather Minute.
Woo!
I'm Alex Robinson.
And I'm Andrew Robinson.
And together we are the Godfather Minute. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
How are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Are we allowed to report where we're recording?
Sure.
We're recording
Secret location
in Portland, Oregon. Mm-hmm. And it is a wonderfully hot day. Summer is officially here. And what better way to kick off the summer than to talk about power, family, and assassinations.
Do you know what date the Connie Corleone's wedding is supposed to be?
Oh, good question.
Is it spring? Is it summer?
It feels like summer because it's sunny and...
No, Sonny's the brother. Sonny's the other one.
No, the weather. It's sunny and warm. It's sunny and Fredo out, so I'm guessing it's summer, but I will check back in that. I'll check back in my notes.
Yeah. I'm going to guess June.
You think of June, why?
Just because it's a popular month for weddings, and it seems like Vito Corleone would be the kind of guy who would get whatever he wants in terms of that stuff. So, and summer, like late summer, would be too hot to have everyone going around in tuxedos and whatnot. But anyway, we'll figure it out.
I know when we get to the wedding scene, there are a lot of interesting bits about the wedding.
Oh, yeah, we'll save that. Because today we're talking about minute 4 of The Godfather.
Are we already up to 4?
I know, it seems like so long.
So long we started this.
Yet and only one character has spoken throughout the entire movie.
And that would be Amerigo Bonasera.
Yes, the Undertaker.
The Undertaker, the corpse valet, doing air quotes, as the consigliere Tom Hagen would later call him.
When in minute 4, we join Bonasera in the middle of his impassioned plea to the Don. If you'll recall, yesterday his daughter was assaulted by a gang of toughs who tried to take advantage of her, but she kept her honor. And so what did Bonasera do? As we learned today at the start of the minute, he went to the police.
Like
a good American.
Like every law-abiding citizen should do.
I thought it was, okay, we'll get to that in a second, but I thought it was interesting. I guess they're really trying to underline the fact that he was like a good American. Like he was really trying to be, what's it called? Assimilated. So, So presumably then by implication, the Godfather is a bad American.
Yeah, it is interesting. The more I've gotten to know The Godfather, the book, the screenplay, and the filming, it's the theme that keeps coming up, but we'll talk more about this as we get into more characters, is that it's really a representation of capitalism in America.
Whoa.
Yeah, heavy-duty stuff. So it's dollars and cents. I know you talk that language, Alex.
It's true. It's
and so,
like so many nickels and dimes.
Yeah. So I think that Bonasera immigrates to America and buys into the American dream. He buys into capitalism. He thinks it's going to work, and so he abides by laws. And so he's at an interesting crossroads as his belief in America is being challenged, as we're finding out.
But as we learn later on in the movie, the Don also believes in that, because in the American system and capitalism and such, because he's like basically was grooming Michael to be the one who kind of gets them into mainstream society. Senator Corleone, Governor Corleone. I wonder why that didn't happen.
Why Michael doesn't?
Yeah, why didn't he become
that?
Senator Corleone or Governor Corleone?
I don't think there just wasn't enough time, Alex.
So here's the question. You said, like we all do, we would go immediately to the police. Is that what you would do? Let's say that you were friends with let's say a mob boss was a mob boss wife was the godmother to your child. And that child is then roughed up and assaulted. She keeps her honor, but would you go to the police immediately, or would you go, you know what? For justice, we have to go to Don Corleone.
Here in Portland, Oregon in 2017?
Yes.
I think I would go to the I think I would go to the police. I believe it. I believe in America.
Well, first of all, could you be friends with a crime boss?
Oh, that's a good question. I know it's a very slippery slope. And being friends with you and brothers with you is already close enough. I want to get to organized crime.
Disorganized.
Gosh, I think I would stick with the system. I'd be a little too nervous to get involved with organized crime.
So,
but also, we haven't found out yet what Bonasera is asking. Why is he there?
Yeah.
So I think I would buy into the American system. It's easy to say, being a white middle class guy with a relatively boring life, to say, "Oh, I would totally get involved with the mafia." But
so I guess I don't know. I don't know if we mentioned it, but you just watched The Sopranos for the first time. Within a year. You just and so if Tony Soprano was your next door neighbor, you would try to keep your distance from him. You would.
And I knew everything about Tony Soprano.
He was Tony Soprano. You didn't know everything.
I didn't know all the ins and outs.
But you knew he was word on the street is that he's a big.
So it's not like I would have watched all the seasons, learned about Tony, and then I'm faced with, actually meet this real guy, Tony Soprano. Okay,
right. Well, because then you'd know that at his heart he was a good guy.
Yeah. Because after knowing all that, I would definitely get involved.
Yeah. Okay.
With his operations.
Go to the big.
I tend to play it straight. I'm a straight shooter when it comes to law. I think I would stick with the system.
All right, fair enough.
But then again, I hadn't experienced what Amerigo Bonasera did, and so I think every man's got his threshold. It can be pushed to the limit. How about you? Would you have gone?
I think it sounds cooler to say, "Oh yeah, I would totally." I didn't even bother going to the cops. I just went to a friend of mine, but I guess I would most likely be too nervous to be in the debt of someone like that. So, but anyway, we'll get to that.
Yeah.
So,
hey, before we go on with this, can I revisit an earlier minute?
Sure.
Are we allowed to do that?
Totally.
Is that okay?
It's our show. We can do whatever we want.
Okay. I know there are some podcast rules. I'm still rules and regulations, and I know you have to put in applications if you want to.
The bureaucracy.
The bureaucry. So, gosh, this whole mafia. Like,
if you want to go back to another minute, I expect I want to see $10,000 on my desk by Friday.
Well,
that's it.
No, but it is the day of your daughter's wedding, so you can't refuse this favor.
Okay, so what do you want to talk about from a previous
This is so silly, but I remember I was thinking back to the opening. I think it's great. I'm going back to a minute where nothing happened. It was the opening, and we just heard the lonely trumpet.
Yeah.
I thought about this while driving to work, and I want to ask you, Alex.
Are you talking about when they show the iconic logo, which is one of Paramount's most valuable things they own?
Yes.
Wow.
You were thinking about dollars and cents. I was thinking about that lonely trumpet.
Oh,
Alex, which of the characters from the Godfather movie is playing that trumpet? Maybe we need to revisit that later when we learn about more characters.
Well, I mean, I think anyone listening to this probably knows. I would hope that everyone listening to this has already watched The Godfather. And probably Godfather 2, because I'm sure, and Godfather 3, because we're going to be giving spoilers for all those things.
All three.
Though don't bother with 3.
Yeah.
I barely remember what happened.
We're even going to go into Godfather 4. Aren't we going to create a serial and write an original Godfather?
Totally should.
That'd be great. Fredo comes back, we make it all crazy. Spoiler alert.
So to answer your question,
who's playing the lonely trumpet?
I'm going to say Fredo.
Fredo. Interesting.
Yeah. Well, because I feel like ultimately Fredo takes on the biggest symbol of Michael destroying his family. Clearly in Godfather 3, the thing he's most haunted by is the death of Fredo.
Yeah.
And Fredo dies out in the middle of that tiny little boat, and he's such a sad figure. So you can almost see that the thing is like the ghost of Fredo. It's not that Fredo was a good guy or anything. I mean,
and the fact that it's played.
He's banging cocktail waitresses 2 at a time.
Not a bad life. Yeah. He's playing the trumpet at the very beginning. Is that foreshadowing then that this was all destiny, and it was like Michael really had no choice the whole time? This was.
But do any of us really have any choice? Aren't we all just kind of following
puppets? Like the logo comes back to the logo.
How we have to pay them royalties.
Oh, gosh.
Would it be better? Would the opening be better if it had been done with like a trombone instead? It's like, wah, wah, wah. Trombones always go wah, wah, wah,
they have to. See that musical melody to me captures more accurately Fredo's experience. I want respect. I was stepped over, Mikey.
It sounds like the trombone is laughing at him. It's getting louder.
Well, isn't that what that trombone... Who first did that?
I thought it was supposed to be like the feet, like womp 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 womp, like it's sort of like like a downward, like a kind of like the Price is Right, where it goes dun 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 dun.
Yeah. No, now we got to pay them. So you're saying it's always just someone's defeated. It's like a spoiled plan or some sort.
Yeah, it's a disappointment of some kind. Yeah. Womp womp.
So
even just a two beat womp womp. That's
true.
Like
yeah. You need at least two though to show that drop.
Yeah.
But you were saying the way I was doing it was more like the trombone. Is it the trombone or the trombone player laughing at Fredo?
Yours sounds more like the teacher on the Charlie Brown cartoons. You know, wah, 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 wah.
Who do you think was the very first trombone player to do that?
I had to be the first person who invented the trombone.
Probably within the first 20 seconds of creating the sound from that
I think that's why it was invented. Someone was like, we need something to convey like humiliation and disappointment.
Yeah. And they had the trumpet first, but they just couldn't.
They tried like the harpsichord and the lute and all those things that never
didn't translate. Didn't translate.
Work.
So I'm going to go with, I think it is Carlo.
Carlo
playing the lowly trumpet.
Now, why is
the lonely trumpet?
Why does Carlo deserve?
He just gets a show, as we'll find in probably 30 episodes from now. He gets a pretty crappy deal. And
30 episodes more like 100.
That's true.
140
that's
episodes.
True. Yeah. So I'm going to reference this minute about 4 years from now. Okay. Yeah. I guess you could have a number of characters playing the lonely trumpet.
Maybe each time every time each character has a humiliation, we'll be like, oh, play the lonely trumpet for Connie.
Yeah, Connie. She could definitely play the lonely trumpet.
That's your husband. That's your husband.
That's terrible. Oh, I'm hoping this is one of those things where every time I watch The Godfather now, I don't think about that after every dramatic line.
It's gonna, if we keep at it, which we will now, because I totally want to make that ingrained in your head. But when we did Star Wars now, whenever certain things, I always think of like, oh, there's that joke we made about Darth Vader doing this or whatever.
Boy.
So. Anyway, moving on.
So in this minute...
So he says, I went to the police like a good American.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but the judge gave him 3 years... Suspended sentence.
What? Suspended a sentence?
Whenever I hear suspended sentence, I always repeat that line the way he does.
Yeah.
Suspended a sentence.
Oh, it's terrible.
It is terrible.
Oh,
that accent, it's like Chico Marx for crying out loud.
The outcome of the trial is terrible. Well, I do have some comments about that. Alex, I'm reading the book.
The book, The Godfather.
The book, The Godfather, and the book is different than the movie.
The book is different than the movie. The book is different than the movie. The book is different. The book is different. The book is different than the movie. Yeah.
The book is different than the movie. I'm going to read a little bit from it, but I want to point out I can't tell why the judge suspended their sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if it's clear in the movie. They make a suggestion in the book. Let me read from the book.
Okay.
So this is the judge. Judge reads the sentence. You acted like wild beasts in a jungle, and you are fortunate you did not sexually molest that poor girl, or I'd put you behind bars for 20 years. The judge pauses, yada, yada, yada. He frowned and shrugged.
Does it say that? The pauses and
yada, yada, yada. Yeah, forget about it. Yada, yada, yada. That was, yada, yada was the original forget about it.
Oh, it's a legal term. I didn't even think
it's a legal term. And then the paragraph finishes with, this is the judge, that he frowned and shrugged as if convinced against his own natural desire. He spoke again. But because of your youth, but because of your youth, your clean records, because of your fun. Oh wait, this is the Godfather.
Yeah,
sorry.
You do a different voice.
What's a judge voice?
Judge Wapner, Judge Judy, Judge Dredd.
Judge. I'll just do a very conservative.
Yeah, do like a James Earl Jones type voice.
Okay. But because of your youth, your clean records, because of your fine families, and because the law in its majesty does not seek vengeance, I hereby sentence you to 3 years confinement to the penitentiary. Sentence to be suspended. Bended. So it was that earlier part. He frowned and shrugged as if convinced against his own natural desire. And then he reveals that the sentence is not maybe as it should be.
Yeah. What if you didn't know anything about it, you would assume that they were the ones. Maybe they had connections to like the Barzini family or something.
The perpetrators, you're saying. Yeah, I was wondering about that.
Because it seems very like, that seems like the kind of thing where it should have happened the other way around, where it's like he was about to let them go, and then he looks at a note he got from Tom Hagen, and he's like, oh, I find you sentence you to death.
Yeah.
You know?
But it's also, he shrugs as if he's giving a sentence he doesn't agree with.
Yeah.
And but then in that next sentence, they also say that because of your clean records and your fine families. Is that a suggestion, like, quote, family?
Yeah.
Like,
and also Bonasera
like
specifically
family?
says they weren't Italians.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
So
yeah,
maybe it's part of Hyman Roth's club.
Yeah.
Maybe they were Jewish gangsters.
If I had to decide, I would think that there's no funny business, no organized crime involved in this yet.
Yet.
And I think the judge is shrugging, and he's disappointed because it's really a matter of practice that he has to suspend their sentences because it's their first time. They have clean records. And so in a way, the judge's thoughts on this are similar to those of Bonasera, because he's saying the system is failing, is not bringing justice to this poor girl. But he has to do it because that's sort of what law requires for a first-time offense and clean records.
It doesn't sound like it from that. He sounds a lot more like, he says you behave like beasts, but then he's like, what does he say again? He
says, you acted like wild beasts in a jungle, and you are fortunate you did not sexually molest that poor girl, or I'd put you behind bars for 20 years. The judge paused. His eyes beneath impressively thick brows flickered slyly toward the sallow-faced Amerigo Bonasera, then lowered to a stack of probation reports before him. He frowned and shrugged as if convinced against his own natural desire. He spoke again, and that's when he reveals the sentences were suspended.
Maybe he's anti-Italian.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah.
So, anyway.
But it definitely reveals a lack of justice, a lack of the system to provide justice.
Yeah.
So interesting.
So maybe I've just listened to too many Johnny Cash songs, but it seems like judges are always bad news in like judges are always wrongly sentencing someone, or in this case not sentencing someone as well as they should, you know.
Well, I'm guessing that a lack of justice is a better story than justice served.
Yeah, that's true.
It just makes for a better story. It's funny to think about the most significant moments of judges reading orders in film.
Yeah. Do a montage of all the scenes of judges weighing in.
All the consecutive judges' orders that were lack of justice.
So then we get our first line from the titular Godfather. He says, "Why did you go to the police? Why didn't you come to me first? Why didn't you come to me first?" Is that a good guy?
That's pretty good. Yeah.
I need a drink of water. Yeah. Go ahead. You do your.
Well, he pauses and he rubs his face. So he's thinking about this. He's not just. Yeah. He's not a guy who's going to jump to decision making. He's a very strong decider. But he's thinking about it. I think part of it is, we're going to learn in a future minute, is it's his daughter's wedding day, and so he technically can't refuse a favor, but I think there's some mitigation there. He can't just grant all the favors as asked.
Totally. Yeah. Because then someone could say, could you do me a favor and step down as Godfather and appoint me Godfather? And be like, oh.
I heard Luca Brasi was originally going to go and say, "Oh, Godfather, I wish for more wishes."
Could every day be your daughter's wedding day?
Yeah.
So since Marlon Brando has so few lines in this movie, I think he's barely in like I think 6 minutes not 6
Over
individual
the whole movie.
I think if you strung together all his scenes, I think it's a tiny amount of time.
That's amazing.
Just figure he dies a portion and he's sick
Yeah.
a portion of the way
Yeah.
through.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think we should do all his dialogue.
Oh, definitely.
So so in this one he says, "Why did you go to the police? Why didn't you come to me first?" That's a little better.
Mm-hmm.
And he says he was a good American. He
Yeah. One more difference in the book, if I can bring it on. I don't mean to seem like Johnny Bookworm, but what's different in the book than in the film is in the book, the Godfather, Don Corleone, is very sarcastic with Amerigo Bonasera. He really chides him. He's
really?
Kind of dissing on him. Whereas in the movie, he's much more
he's more of a
even-keeled.
benevolent.
Yeah. For example, he says,
"Were you gonna cry? Were you gonna cry?
cry like a little baby." No. He says, then you have nothing to complain about. The judge has ruled. America has ruled. Bring your daughter flowers and a box of candy when you go visit her in the hospital. That will comfort her. Be content. After all, this is not a serious affair. The boys were young, high-spirited, and none of them is the son of a powerful politician. Life is full of misfortunes, Bonasera. So he's going on. I mean, he knows how horrible this was, but he's kind of egging him on, basically saying, "See, you believed in the system, you didn't believe in me."
So do you think is he implying that the two guys were the sons of a politician?
I thought about that. Could be. Well, he says, and one of them is the son of a powerful politician. Oh, so there it is.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there it is.
So the judge was pressured by
By a
by
politician.
a higher up,
Got it.
much like a capo regime would be pressured by the Don. So
Like-
are the systems are they different?
Yeah. Well, but judges don't have people killed.
Who's being naive now, Alex?
So Bonasera also gives the poignant detail that he stood in the courtroom like a fool. Oh man! I picture being the kind of thing where he's like standing still, like what? Everyone's like, all right, going around, and
business.
like yeah.
Bailiff,
The next
clearing
case,
out.
please.
Yeah.
You know.
Next case, we got Fredo Corleone versus the Mickey Mouse nightclub.
Which judge, if let's just say they had to show the scene of this, which judge from popular culture would you want to be the judge on the bench?
If I were Bonasera with this
No,
particular
like let's say
case.
you were filming. Let's just say we're doing an expanded version of The Godfather. We're doing a special edition where we're going to put in scenes that were mentioned but we didn't see. We're going to beef it up
okay.
by adding in new scenes.
Oh, got it. So who do you want playing the judge?
Yeah, what? But it has to be someone who played a judge in something else.
And for that scene.
Yeah,
though.
for that scene.
I think,
Wapner
I know he's
or-
not alive anymore, but Fred Gwynn did a fine job in My Cousin Vinny.
The CGI now. They can bring anyone
Oh,
back.
yeah, that's
so
right.
Sometimes
Yeah.
death is better.
That'd be great. That'd be great if they cut from the original judge to like Fred Gwynn, all like, well, what are you wearing? What are you wearing there, counselor? Because you remember he disses Joe Pesci's outfits.
I've never
and stuff.
seen My Cousin Vinny.
What? I don't think you're qualified to do Godfather minutes. It's classic. It is good. It's good.
Yeah.
It's worth watching.
Do you think it holds up? I heard Marissa Tomei gives a award-stealing performance.
I thought it was good. I actually like it. I like it better. I saw it about a year ago, and I also saw it in the theater.
Yeah.
And I liked it better the second time around.
Have you ever heard that urban legend about Marissa Tomei?
No.
She won an Academy Award for Best Supporting Actress for that movie.
Yeah.
And
Did Joe Pesci win anything?
I don't think so.
Oh.
But there was a rumor going around for a long time that when Jack Palance was reading the winner is, and he said Marissa Tomei's name even though someone else's, he named Marissa Tomei and they gave it to her even though it said a wrong thing on her.
Wow.
It was always denied, of course, but like that thing always haunted her as like people are always like, oh yeah, you weren't supposed to get that.
And so the thinking was, if that were true, why wouldn't anyone have said anything? It would have been too embarrassing.
Just go along with it. Just play along. As we learned this past year at the Academy Awards, they didn't necessarily do that.
Yeah.
So.
Although the times they have changed since
That's
then.
true. At the times, they are changing.
It's almost better press to have some type of scandal like that. So Marissa Tomei
you
stole
said-
the Academy Award.
Well, the thing.
So the Academy is just like the U.S. legal system, is just like organized
Jack
crime.
Palance was like, "Well, you did a very good performance," but then he looked at Bonasera and he's like, "I have to give it to Marissa Tomei." What?
Well, Jack Palance's daughter was getting married that day, and Marissa Tomei had asked him, said,
that's
"Hey,
right,
I need to get this award." He's like, I gotta give you the award then, because it's my daughter's wedding day. Do you want me to read it in this voice, Marissa? Can I call you Marissa?
Nice
So Fred
Italian
Gwynn.
girl.
That's who I would
Fred
have.
Gwynn. I will say,
But I'd have him do the voice of Herman Munster.
you'd have him dressed up as Herman Munster, just the voice, or have him wear the whole costume as Herman Munster.
Just the little bolts on his foreheads. And do the voice.
Okay. Oh boy, I asked this question and now I can't think of a judge.
Oh boy.
Um,
You got Wapner, you got Judy, you got who's the divorce court judge? Who was originally the Charles Manson?
oh, Judge Keene.
Judge Keene?
Judge Keene was his name. Yeah.
But I remember about Judge Keene, he was always laughing. These people were pouring out their hearts and getting in fights. And remember they'd cut to George Keene, he'd just be laughing. I think it was the original reality show, wasn't it?
Well, I guess
Maybe.
People's Court was first before our Divorce Court. I
but
think.
divorce court was just over the top.
It was seedier.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh boy, after all this, I can't think of a judge now. I'm on the spot.
You can come back to it.
Yeah, let's think about
Think
it.
about it. You can, as we learn, you can always revisit earlier minutes.
Yeah. Okay, yes. Let's
One more point about Bonasera's reaction, because you're just describing the scene. There's a great line from the book. So the judge reads the sentence to be suspended. And then Puzo writes, only 40 years of professional mourning kept the overwhelming frustration and hatred from showing on Amerigo Bonasera's face.
he's an Undertaker.
Yeah, so he's a pro. He's been around the
Yeah.
block, and he held it together.
Oh, so here's another thing I noticed. Marlon Brando says, why'd you go to the police? Why didn't you come to me first? And then Bonasera is like, I'll do whatever you ask. And he doesn't answer why I didn't come to you. He doesn't. He kind of sidetracks the question. And, we'll see if the Don lets him get away with that non-answer.
Yeah.
So, and then Godfather asks, what would you have me do? And then Bonasera gets up, and the minute ends with him getting up to tell the Don what he wants.
He's whispering in his ear,
Yeah.
right?
So we'll have to stay tuned and find out. Do you have anything else about this minute?
Well, at this point, I don't think we've seen Don. Have we seen the Don's face
No,
yet?
we have
We've
not.
just seen
Bonasera is the
back of his
only
head.
person we've
Still.
seen for 4 minutes
Minute
into the
4.
movie. What guts!
Yeah.
As a filmmaker,
That's great. Yeah.
So
We'll see who's
Yeah.
We'll see who's behind that face, and the response that he will give.
So how do you rate this minute on a scale of 1 to 5? How?
Oh boy! Well, this is the third of the Bonasera trilogy.
Yeah.
Kinda. It'll still go on, but
Because
as
it's
far as
mostly a
the,
monologue from
Yeah.
him. So now it becomes a duet with him and the Don.
well, it definitely sets up the next part of the conversation by him saying, by him whispering his request.
Yeah.
Him building the drama. I would say, boy, it's going to be easy not to calibrate this whole rating system. There are scenes that are phenomenal, but you can still only give them 5. So 4 is still very strong.
Yeah.
So I would give it a 3 to 4. 3, I guess, if I had to say.
3.5 if you
3.5.
want.
I'm going 3 and a solid 3.5.
Do you want to change the scale? You want to make it 1 to 10? That way there's a little bit more wiggle room in terms
Let's do
of
that.
Although having the narrow range of 5 is
Sort of
kind
makes you commit, yeah. But no halves.
No halves?
I'm okay with halves.
Okay, let's say halves.
So it's really a 10-point scale.
Yeah. So I'm gonna say similar thing. 3.5. We don't want to give everything a 5 stars
Exactly,
right
yeah.
out of the gate. It's
Yeah.
a good moment, it's
It's a
it's
solid
good
moment,
acting,
yeah.
but
Well, now that we're
building
closing up the minute, how would you rate our analysis of the minute?
ooh, our analysis
Well, and before you answer, our analysis is on a 15-point scale.
is 1's the lowest and 15 the highest.
Yes.
Okay. I will say, I think we knocked it out of the park. I'm gonna say a solid 15.
I agree. I was going to say that too.
We had references from the book. We had the book that was pretty much the
We had
the gist of-
voices,
It's voices. We had ethical
Impersonations.
questions.
ethical questions. Well, what would you do?
Yeah.
We had what if. We had substituted characters, actors.
Yeah.
We referenced earlier minutes.
We included some personal information, like you just saw The Sopranos, and we're recording in Portland. I think this is a home run.
Well, you know what? I'm going to change it. I'm going to just bump it down on 14 to 14 because we didn't have a guest speaker. Because you have to have somewhere to go, some room to grow.
That's true. There's room to grow on.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
But
we'll see.
solid analysis.
Maybe next week's minute will be better,
I agree.
both in content and in our execution of it.
Well, you'll have to wait and see, Alex.
So in the meantime, you should leave
Leave
the gun and take the Godfather minute.